The forest was silent that night, but not a safe silence. It was the kind of silence that made every heartbeat sound too loud, every step too heavy. The human hunter moved slowly between the tall trees, carrying only a lantern and the bow on. His back, he knew this place well. He had walked these woods since childhood, but tonight felt different. The air was colder, heavier, and he felt as if something was watching him. He had set his traps earlier, hidden under leaves and branches. Usually, he caught rabbits, maybe a wild boar if he was lucky. But tonight, he was hunting something else. Strange rumors had spread in the nearby villages. People whispered about lights in the sky, about shadows moving faster than animals, about screams no human throat could make. He did not believe such stories until he saw. The broken branches and burned soil in the forest got his boots pressed against wet ground as he reached the first trap. Empty. The second also empty. He sighed, thinking it would be another wasted night, but then he heard it. A sound, not the rustle of leaves, not the call of an owl. It was sharp, pained, and not human. It came from the direction of his third trap. The hunter froze. For a moment, he thought of turning back. But his body moved forward on its own, his heart pounding faster. Each step felt heavier, as if the forest itself was warning him to stop. He pushed the bushes aside, lifted his lantern high, and then he saw her dot at first. He thought it was a girl. She was tangled in the ropes of his trap, her body trembling, her skin pale under the moonlight. But no, her skin was not pale. It was faintly glowing, like silver fire. Her hair spilled down like liquid night, and her eyes, those eyes were not human. They burned with a strange light, violet and sharp, yet filled with pain. She hissed at him like a cornered animal, her sharp teeth flashing. Her hands pulled at the ropes, but the hunter could see her wrists bleeding from the struggle. She was caught badly. The hunter stepped back, his breath heavy. "What are you?" he whispered, though he knew she could not understand. The alien. Woman tensed, waiting for the blow, waiting for torture. She had been running for days, hiding from her pursuers. She thought this human was just another captor, another monster who would use her body as a tool, as her own kind had done, but the blow never came. Instead, the hunter slowly lowered his lantern and crouched near her. His eyes showed fear, yes, but also something else, curiosity. He reached out, not with a weapon, but with his hand. The alien flinched, growling, her chest rising fast. She expected pain. But when his fingers touched the rope, he pulled it gently, loosening the knot. For a moment, both of them were still. The forest around them seemed to hold its breath. The human cut through the last rope with his knife, and the alien fell to the ground gasping. She tried to crawl away, but her leg was hurt badly. She looked up at him with wide, furious eyes, expecting him to strike her now that she was weak, but he only stepped back. He gave her space. "You're hurt," he said softly, though he knew. She could not understand his words. The alien's chest rose and fell. Her instincts screamed at her to run, to kill, to do anything but trust. And yet, for some reason, she didn't move. The way he looked at her, no hunger, no cruelty, confused her. His touch was not what she expected. The hunter looked at the sky, and for the first time she noticed it too, the low hum of engines. A ship was passing above the clouds, searching. Her enemies. The human noticed her sudden fear. He followed her gaze and frowned. He didn't understand what chased her, but he understood danger. And he understood she needed a place to hide. "Come," he whispered, offering his hand. The alien stared at it as if it was poison. Her whole life had been running, hiding, fighting. Trust was something she had forgotten long ago. Yet something in his steady eyes made her hesitate. Behind them, the forest shook with the sound of distant footsteps, too many, too heavy, not human. Whoever was hunting her was close. The hunter didn't wait any longer. He picked her up light as a feather in his strong arms and carried her into the shadows of the forest. The alien gasped, her hands pressing against his chest. His warmth spread through her trembling body. She expected chains. She expected cruelty. But instead, she felt steady footsteps, strong arms, and a heartbeat that was calm. Steady, human. Above, the hunters in the ship scanned the forest. But for this night, the alien fugitive had fallen not into the hands of her enemies, but into the arms of a human whose touch was nothing like she had feared. And as the forest swallowed them both, the real story began. Asterisk. The cabin was small, hidden deep inside the forest. Its walls were made of rough wood, its windows covered with thick cloth so no light escaped. Inside, a fire burned low, giving only a faint glow. The human hunter laid the alien carefully on a fur blanket near the fire. She had not spoken a single word, only stared at him with those burning violet eyes. Her body was tense, every muscle ready to fight if he made one wrong move. The human sat down a few feet away. Not too close, not too far. He did not try to touch her again. He only placed a clay cup of water on the floor between them. Then, slowly, he pushed it toward her. The alien woman's hands trembled. She wanted to grab the cup. Her throat was dry, but her pride held her back. To her, accepting water from him meant weakness, dependence. She had lived too long in chains to ever trust kindness. Still, her lips were cracked, her throat burning. She hissed, but in the end, she took the cup and drank in small gulps, her eyes never leaving his. The human did not smile, did not speak much. He only nodded as if to say, "You need this more than me." Outside, the wind howled. The sound of the patrol ship still echoed in the distance. The alien flinched every time it passed overhead. "You're safe here," the hunter said quietly. He knew she did not understand, but the words slipped out anyway. The alien tilted her head. His tone confused her. No cruelty. No threat. She had expected laughter, chains, maybe fire. Instead, she only saw a man with tired eyes, carrying scars across his arms and chest, scars that spoke of his own battles. Her stomach growled. She quickly turned her face away, ashamed. The human stood, went to the corner, and pulled out dried meat and bread from a wooden box. He placed it near her, not forcing it into her hands. Just near enough. The smell was strange but warm. She wanted to resist, but hunger betrayed her again. Slowly, she reached out and took the bread. Her fingers brushed his for only an instant. Her skin cold, his warm. Her heart raced. She pulled her hand back quickly, as if his touch burned. The hunter noticed but said nothing. He went back to his chair and sharpened his knife with slow, steady strokes. The alien's eyes followed the blade nervously, remembering the tortures of her past. She clutched the bread tighter, ready to fight if he turned on her. But the knife was only for wood. He cut logs into small pieces and added them to the fire. The warmth spread through the cabin, and the alien felt something she had not felt in a long time: comfort. Still, her mind was full of fear. Why is he doing this? What does he want? She thought. No human helps without reason. No creature is kind without taking something in return. Her body shook with silent questions. The human looked at her again. She met his eyes, and for a heartbeat, something passed between them, something dangerous. Curiosity. That outside, the sound changed. It was not the ship this time. It was footsteps. Heavy, many, too many. The hunter's face darkened. He stood quickly, grabbing his bow. He blew out the lantern, leaving only the fire's faint glow. The alien froze. Her heart raced. She recognized the sound. Soldiers. They had tracked her here. The hunter turned to her and pressed a finger to his lips. Silence. She understood that much. He opened a small trapdoor in the floor. Beneath it, a dark space, a hiding place. He pointed. Her pride screamed at her. Hide, like prey? But her survival instinct was stronger. She crawled inside the narrow hole, her breathing shallow. The hunter closed the trapdoor gently, covering it with a rug. She lay in the dark, her ears ringing with every sound. Boots stomped outside the cabin. Voices spoke in a strange language, her language. They were close. Through a crack in the wood, she saw the hunter open his door. He stood tall, calm, his bow at his side. He did not look like a man hiding anything. Alien soldiers pushed inside, scanning the room with glowing visors. She could hear her own blood rushing, praying they would not see her. One soldier picked up the empty cup on the floor. Another sniffed the air. "She's been here," one growled in her tongue. Her heart stopped. "They know," but the human only narrowed his eyes. He spoke firmly in his own language, a tone that carried no fear. They did not understand his words, but they understood his stance. This was his cabin, his territory. The soldiers shoved past him, searching every corner. One stepped dangerously close to the trapdoor. The alien beneath bit her lip to keep from gasping. The hunter's hand tightened on his bow. For a tense moment, the soldier stared at the rug covering the hidden space. Then, with a grunt, he turned away. Nothing. The soldiers left, slamming the door behind them. Their footsteps faded into the night. Only then did the hunter move the rug and lift the trapdoor. The alien crawled out, her body shaking with fear and rage. She looked at him, her eyes sharp, almost accusing. "Why did you protect me? Why risk your life?" But the human said nothing. He only placed another log into the fire and sat back down. The alien stared at him, her chest rising and falling. The truth burned in her mind. This human was dangerous. Not because of cruelty, but because his kindness was something she could not fight, and that terrified her more than any soldier ever could. Asterisk. The night stretched long after the soldiers left. The alien woman sat near the fire, still breathing hard. Her eyes stayed on the human, sharp and suspicious. He had hidden her, risked his life, but she could not understand why. The human cleaned his knife slowly, the firelight dancing on his scarred arms. His silence was heavy but calm. He was not afraid of her glowing eyes or her sharp teeth. In fact, he looked almost curious. The alien shifted uncomfortably. She was used to stares of hunger, cruelty, or fear. But this stare was different. It unsettled her more than chains ever did. Her leg throbbed with pain. She hissed, clutching it. The wound from the trap was deeper than she admitted. Blood soaked the cloth he had wrapped around it earlier. The human noticed immediately. He moved closer, kneeling beside her. His hand reached for her leg, but she snapped at him with a growl, her fangs flashing. He stopped. Not out of fear, but out of respect. He raised both hands slowly, showing he meant no harm. Then he pulled a small pouch from his belt and set it down before her. Inside were herbs, crushed and smelling strong. He pointed to her wound, then to the pouch, then back again. The alien blinked. He wanted to heal her. Her pride screamed against it, but her body was too weak. Reluctantly, she nodded. The hunter cleaned her wound gently. His hands were rough from years of work, yet careful as they touched her skin. The alien clenched her jaw, every muscle tensing. She expected pain. She expected cruelty disguised as kindness. But instead, she felt warmth. His touch was steady, his movements slow and precise. He bound her wound with clean strips of cloth, tighter but not cruel. Her violet eyes met his for only a second. Something strange burned in her chest. She hated it. When he finished, he sat back and fed the fire. "Stronger now," he muttered, almost to himself. The alien tilted her head, repeating the word softly under her breath. "SDR, ong, ah." The human's eyes widened slightly. She had copied his word. She caught his surprise and smirked, faintly as if mocking him. Yet inside, she was just as shocked. She had not meant to mimic him. The sound had simply fallen from her lips, uninvited. The cabin grew quiet again, except for the crackle of flames. Outside, the forest whispered with wind, but danger lurked beyond the trees. They both knew the soldiers would return. The alien could not stay. She needed to leave, to keep moving. But her leg was weak, and every step would leave a trail. She glanced at the human. He was her only shield, and that realization stung. Depending on him felt like another trap, one she could not escape. Suddenly, a loud thud shook the cabin. Both froze. The human grabbed his bow, eyes sharp. The alien crouched low, her claws ready, but it was not soldiers. It was something worse. Through the window, glowing eyes stared in a wild beast of the forest, drawn by the smell of blood. Its body was massive, its jaws dripping with hunger. It slammed against the wooden wall, shaking the cabin. The human raised his bow, firing a quick arrow. It struck the beast's hide, but only enraged it. The alien hissed, her instincts screaming for battle. She leapt forward, ignoring her wounded leg, claws flashing as she tore across the beast's face through the window. The cabin shook as the monster roared, breaking half the wall. Splinters flew. The human rolled to the side, grabbed a spear, and drove it deep into the beast's chest. Blood sprayed, hot and dark. The alien, panting, fell to her knees. Her wound tore open again, but her eyes locked on the human. He did not hesitate. He did not run. He fought like a creature born from fire itself. Together, they struck again, the human with his spear, the alien with her claws. Finally, the beast collapsed outside, its roar fading into silence. For a long moment, the only sound was their breathing. The cabin was half broken, smoke rising from the fire. The alien looked at the human, her chest heaving. She should have been furious, insulted that she needed his help. But instead, a strange heat rose inside her. She had fought beside him and survived. The human wiped blood from his face and looked at her. For the first time, he allowed himself a small smile. It was faint, tired, but real. The alien blinked. Her lips parted as if to snarl, but no sound came out. Instead, she turned her face away, hiding the confusion burning in her eyes. A dangerous bond had formed, born not from trust, but from survival. She feared it, yet she could not deny it. And outside, beyond the broken wall, glowing lights moved. In the trees, the soldiers had heard the beast's roar. They were coming. The cabin still smoked from the battle with the beast. Broken wood lay scattered across the floor, and blood stained the ground outside. The alien woman sat slumped against the wall, clutching her leg. Her breath was heavy, her violet eyes burning with both pain and pride. The human paced the room, his jaw set tight. He knew the sound of the fight had carried far. In the forest, nothing stayed hidden for long. Then he heard it, the low hum of engines, the crunch of heavy boots. Voices cold, commanding, not human. The alien stiffened. She knew those voices. Her hunters. The human grabbed his bow, strung an arrow, and looked at her. He did not speak, but his meaning was clear. Be ready. The door shook violently as a fist slammed against it. The alien's body tensed, her claws digging into the wooden floor. She wanted to leap forward, to tear through her enemies, but her body was too weak. She looked at the human instead, half expecting him to betray her now, to open the door and hand her over. But he didn't single quotes t. Instead, he walked slowly to the door and barred it with a heavy beam. His chest rose and fell calmly. He was outnumbered, outgunned, but he didn't back down. The soldiers shouted from outside. She could understand their words. Open the door. We know she's inside. The alien flinched. She looked at the human, waiting to see if he understood. He didn't know their language, but he understood the threat. The cabin shook again as the soldiers rammed the door. Wood cracked. Dust fell from the ceiling. The human moved quickly. He pointed toward the trapdoor again, urging her to hide. But this time she shook her head. "No," she whispered, her voice raspy but firm. The human blinked, surprised. He had not heard her speak before. Her voice was sharp, broken, but filled with defiance. She would not hide again like prey. The door crashed open. 6 soldiers stormed inside, armored and armed with glowing rifles. Their helmets reflected the firelight, their eyes hidden behind dark visors. The human raised his bow, aiming at the first soldier. He released the arrow fast, precise. It struck the visor, cracking it. The soldier fell back with a grunt. The others fired. Blasts of blue light tore through the cabin, burning holes into the wood. The fire roared higher as sparks flew. The alien pushed herself up, ignoring the pain in her leg. She leapt at one soldier, her claws slicing across his chest. Sparks flew as her strike ripped through his armor. He screamed and fell. The human grabbed a spear and spun it like a seasoned warrior, knocking another soldier's rifle aside before driving the point into his shoulder. The man collapsed with a cry, but there were still too many. The alien staggered, a blast grazing her arm. She cried out in pain, her glowing blood splattering on the floor. The human's eyes widened. He dropped his spear and rushed to her side, pulling her behind the overturned table. Blasts scorched the wood as they ducked. The alien stared at him, panting. No one had ever shielded her before. Her chest tightened in confusion. He looked at her, his face fierce, and shouted one word she understood without translation. "Together." Something stirred inside her. She nodded. The soldiers advanced. The human leapt from cover, rolling across the floor, and fired another arrow. The alien followed, crawling low, then pouncing on a soldier's back, tearing out the wires of his rifle. The two moved as if they had fought side by side for years, one attacking with steel and arrows, the other with claws and alien strength. The fight was brutal, close and desperate. The cabin burned around them, smoke rising. One by one, the soldiers fell, their bodies heavy on the floor. Finally, silence. The human stood in the smoke, chest heaving, bow still in hand. The alien leaned against the broken wall, her body trembling, blood dripping down her arm and leg. But they were alive. For now, outside more voices shouted. More soldiers, dozens. The forest glowed with their searchlights. The alien's eyes widened. They won't stop," she whispered, forcing the words in broken human tongue. "They want me. Dead." The human looked at her, his face unreadable. Then he picked up his pack, slung his bow across his shoulder, and walked toward her. Without hesitation, he lifted her into his arms once more. She gasped, weakly pushing at his chest. "No, I slow you down." But he only tightened his hold. His voice was steady, firm. "We move, together." For the first time, her resistance cracked. Her head rested against his shoulder. Her heart pounded, not from fear, but from something far more dangerous. As he carried her into the burning night, the forest lit up with enemy lights. The hunters were coming from every side. And yet, for the first time in her life, the alien fugitive was not running alone. The forest burned with light. Dozens of search beams cut through the trees, moving closer with every second. The alien fugitive clung to the human's chest as he carried her through the shadows, his breath heavy, his arms strong. But strength had limits. A blast shot past, striking the ground near his feet. Another ripped through a tree, showering sparks. The soldiers had seen them. "Run!" The alien hissed, though her voice was broken. "Leave me!" The human did not answer. He only ran faster, his boots pounding against the earth. Then, a sharp cry. He staggered. A blue beam cut across his side, burning deep into his flesh. His body jerked, but he did not drop her. Blood ran down his ribs, hot and dark. The alien's eyes widened. She could smell the iron, see the pain on his face. Her chest tightened in panic. "Human, stop!" She cried, but he shook his head. He forced himself forward, every step a battle. Finally, he stumbled into a hidden hollow between two rocks, shielded from the soldiers' lights. He set her down gently against the stone wall and collapsed to his knees, his hand pressed to his wound. The alien crawled toward him, her heart pounding. The man who had shielded her, fed her, carried her through fire, now he was bleeding because of her. His breaths came harsh and ragged. He tried to stand, tried to reach for his bow, but his strength faltered. His vision blurred. The alien's claws hovered above him, trembling. She had sworn never to use her power again. The last time she had, it had nearly killed her. But now, watching him fade, she felt something break inside. "No," she whispered. Her voice shook, not from anger, but from fear. Her glowing hands moved to his wound. The human flinched at her touch, expecting claws, pain, but instead, warmth spread across his skin. The alien closed her eyes, her breath uneven, as violet light spread from her palms. The wound hissed, the burned flesh knitting slowly, painfully. The human gasped, his eyes wide. He looked down at her, at the strange glow, at the pain twisting her face as she gave him her strength. "Why?" he whispered, though he knew she could barely understand. The alien opened her eyes, violet fire meeting his. "Because you fight." "For me," she said, her words broken but clear. Her body shook as the energy drained from her. Healing cost her much. It was not a gift freely given, but one that carved away her own life each time. Still, she pressed. Harder, refusing to stop until his bleeding slowed, until his breath steadied. The human caught her wrists gently. "Enough," he said softly. His voice was weak but steady. She looked at him with fury, refusing. "No, you live. You must live." Her words struck him harder than any wound. She wanted him alive, not because of survival, not because of debt, but because she could not bear the thought of him gone. Finally, the glow faded. The alien fell forward, weak and trembling. The human caught her, pulling her against his chest despite his pain. For a moment, they were still. Two fugitives, one human, one alien bound by blood and trust. The forest around them roared with shouts as the soldiers drew closer, their lights breaking through the trees. The human held her tight, his jaw set. He was still alive, thanks to her. The alien lifted her head, her voice barely a whisper. "You protect me, I protect you." His eyes softened. He nodded once. Together. But the moment was short. The soldiers' voices grew louder. They had tracked the blood, the broken branches. Soon they would find the hollow. The human forced himself to his feet, the alien still weak in his arms. His wound ached, but it no longer bled. He looked down at her, body pale from the power she had spent, her eyes still fierce despite her weakness. She had given him life. Now it was his turn again. He adjusted his grip on her and whispered, almost like a promise, "I won't let them take you." The alien pressed her forehead weakly against his chest. She had never believed in promises. They were always lies, but this one felt different. The shouts grew nearer. Light swept the trees, and the human, holding the alien fugitive close, stepped out of the hollow into the darkness, ready to face an army with nothing but a bow. His courage and the bond of trust that had begun to change everything. The night. Forest burned with light. Search beams tore through the trees, voices of alien soldiers echoing like thunder. The human gripped his bow tightly, the alien fugitive weak in his arms, but her eyes blazing with defiance. "Move," she whispered, her voice broken. "They too close." He nodded. His body ached from blood loss, but her healing had given him just enough strength to keep going. His boots crushed damp leaves as he carried her deeper into the forest. Behind them, the sound of hounds broke the air. The alien froze. She knew that sound beasts bred for hunting, their senses sharper than any machine. Once they caught a scent, nothing could escape. The human heard it too. He lowered her gently behind a fallen tree. "Stay," he muttered, though he knew she might not understand. He raised his bow and pulled an arrow free. Her violet eyes widened. "No, not leave me," she rasped. He looked at her for a moment. His expression was unreadable, but then, instead of leaving, he crouched beside her. His hand brushed the ground, picking up dirt and smearing it over both of them. Then he grabbed damp leaves and rubbed them across their clothes. The alien blinked, confused, until she realized he was masking their scent. For the first time, she felt something stir in her chest, not fear, not anger, but respect. The hounds burst through the trees, their eyes glowing, jaws dripping. The human held his breath, pulling the alien closer. Into the shadows, one hound sniffed the air, its nose inches from them. The alien's claws flexed. If it attacked, she would kill it, but it would bring the whole army down on them. The human slowly raised his knife. The beast growled, its fangs bared, then, suddenly, it jerked away, chasing another trail. The alien exhaled, her whole body trembling. The human released his knife and whispered, "Close." She did not understand the word fully, but she understood. The tone. Danger had passed, but only for a moment. They moved again. The human carried her when her leg faltered, and when he grew weak, she forced herself to walk beside him, leaning on his shoulder. For the first time, they were not protector and protected. They were equals, surviving side by side. The forest grew darker, thicker. The trees bent overhead, their branches like claws. Strange whispers carried on the wind. Alien tech scanning, hunting. Then a flare lit the sky. The soldiers had surrounded the forest. There was no clear path left. Alien's chest tightened. "Trapped," she whispered. The human looked around quickly, his eyes sharp. Then he spotted a river, rushing fast between jagged rocks. Dangerous, cold, but it led deeper into the mountains. He pointed. "River." The alien shook her head. "Too strong." He met her eyes. His voice was steady, certain. "Together." "Before." She could argue. He grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the water. They slid down the muddy bank, the roar of the river filling their ears. Behind them, soldiers shouted, their rifles charging. The human leapt first, crashing into the freezing water. He turned back, holding out his hand. "Jump!" The alien hesitated for only a heartbeat. Then, with a growl, she threw herself into the river. The current swallowed her instantly, dragging her under. The human dove after her, his arms cutting through the icy waves. For a moment, panic surged. She was gone. Then he saw her hand break the surface, reaching blindly. He caught it, pulling her close against him. The river dragged them both, smashing them against rocks, spinning them in the dark. The alien clung to him, her claws digging into his arm, not in anger, but in desperation. For endless minutes, they were tossed like leaves. Then, finally, the current spat them out onto a rocky shore, far from the soldiers' lights. The human coughed, dragging himself up. The alien lay beside him, gasping, her hair clinging to her glowing skin. For a moment, silence. Only the river's roar filled the night. Then she turned her head toward him, her voice weak but sharp. "You saved me again." "Why?" He looked at her, his chest rising with heavy breaths. Finally he spoke the only truth he knew. "Because you matter." Her eyes widened. No one had ever said that to her. Not even her own kind. She stared at him for a long moment, her heart pounding in a way she did not understand. Finally, she whispered back, almost against her will, "Together." The human gave a faint nod. Together. But even as the bond grew, the danger had not passed. On the ridge above, faint lights flickered. The soldiers had found the river. The alien and the human lay hidden in the shadows of the rocks, their hands still locked together as the night closed around them. The night was nearly over. Dawn's first gray light touched the mountains, but the forest still glowed with enemy search beams. The alien woman sat beside the human on the cold rocks by the river, her body weak but her violet eyes fierce. She had lost count of how many times he had saved her. And yet, each time he could have abandoned her, he didn't. It was madness. It was human. The roar of engines shook the air. From above the cliffs, a larger ship descended, sleek, armored, bristling with weapons. This was no patrol. This was the commander. The alien froze. She knew that ship. She knew the man who would step out of it. The human rose slowly, gripping his bow even though his arms trembled with exhaustion. The soldiers formed ranks on the ridge. Their commander emerged, his armor shining, his face cruel and familiar. The alien gasped softly. It was him. The one who had once owned her. The one who had branded her as a fugitive. Her body shook with rage, but fear crawled beneath her skin. She had escaped him once, but never truly been free. The commander's gaze swept the rocks until it landed on her. His lips curled into a cruel smile. "You cannot hide forever," he barked in her tongue. "You belong to us." To me, the aliens. Claws dug into the stone. She wanted to spit back, but before she could, the human stepped in front of her. He raised his bow and aimed directly at the commander's chest. The alien's breath caught. He couldn't understand the words, but he understood the cruelty in the man's voice. He understood her fear. The commander laughed. "A human? You think one weak creature can stop an army?" The alien's heart pounded. The human's hand did not shake. The soldiers advanced, rifles raised. The commander's smile widened. "Kill him, take her alive." The human released his arrow. It flew straight and true, striking the commander's shoulder. The alien gasped. The shot was not enough to kill, but enough to wound. Enough to send a message. The soldiers roared and fired. The human dove for cover, pulling the alien with him. Blasts scorched the rocks, heat and smoke filling the air. He fired arrow after arrow, each one striking with impossible precision. But there were too many. The alien clutched his arm. Her chest burned with fury. She could not watch him die for her. Not again. Her violet eyes glowed brighter, her hands trembling with energy. She had sworn never to use her power for violence. But now she broke her own oath. She rose to her feet, standing tall beside him. Her claws spread wide, and with a cry that split the air, she unleashed a wave of violet light. The blast struck the front line of soldiers, knocking them back like leaves. In a storm, their rifles shattered, their armor cracked. The commander's eyes widened in fury. The human looked at her in shock, but he did not stop her. He only stepped beside her, his bow ready. They fought together, one with light, the other with steel. The human's arrows pierced through soldiers' visors, his blade flashing when they came too close. The alien's power surged, throwing enemies back, her claws tearing through the ones who dared approach. For the first time, she was not fighting alone. The battle raged, fire and screams filling the dawn. Finally, the commander himself descended. His blade drawn, he charged at the human, striking with brutal force. The human blocked with his knife, the impact sending him staggering. The commander sneered and raised his blade again, but before it fell, the alien leapt forward, her claws slashing across the commander's chest. He roared, stumbling back, his armor torn. The human seized the chance. With one last arrow he aimed at the commander's exposed throat and fired. The arrow struck true. The commander fell, choking, his body crashing against the rocks. His soldiers froze, their leader defeated. Slowly, one by one, they retreated to their ship, dragging the wounded with them. The engines roared, and the ship lifted into the sky, leaving smoke and silence behind. The alien collapsed to her knees, her strength spent. The human dropped beside her, his hand steadying her shoulder. She turned her face to him, her eyes burning with something new. Not just gratitude. Not just relief. Something deeper. "You, human," she whispered. Her voice broke, but her meaning was clear. Not monster, not captor. Different. The human's lips curved into the faintest smile. He placed a hand on her shoulder, firm and gentle. Safe now. Her chest tightened. For the first time in her life, she believed those words. She leaned closer, her forehead resting against his chest. His warmth surrounded her, steady and real. The dawn broke fully, sunlight spilling over the mountains. For the alien fugitive, the night of running was finally over, and for the first time, she realized humanity was not what she had feared. Humanity was what had saved her.